Good afternoon. This is the Real Life Real Estate Investing Show where we talk about real life real estate situations, but we bring you real life real estate solutions. And today, we're going to be talking about wholesaling, investing, do's and don'ts, things of that nature. And today, my guest is not here with me yet, but he's on the way. Got caught in a little traffic situation, but he's on the way. And this is real life real estate investing, and we're live. So when we go live, we deal with whatever comes our way. And that's why we're starting a little bit late, because we were trying to give them a few moments to get in with us. But we thank you all for joining us today. We thank you for tuning in, and we're going to get right into it. And I want to give an opportunity for those of you that are watching to chime in and ask some questions. That needs to be turned that way a little bit. So we go. We're working on that one. All right. Okay. I think it'll get better. All right. So what I want to do is give an opportunity until we have our guest show up, until our guest comes in. We want to give an opportunity to those of you that may have some questions. Tell us where you're watching from. You know, if you put in the comments, show us where you're watching from. If you can hear me okay, put a 1. If you can't, put a 2. We want to make sure you are hearing the information properly. And I just want to open up for some questions. I want to give an opportunity to answer some questions about the show. Actually, as a matter of fact, while we have some time, I want to ask for some suggestions about the show. What is it that you all want to hear about? What particular area of real estate investing are you having the most challenges in? What information would you like to hear about on the show? Who would you like to see on the show? And, of course, we'll call them out if they're interested. Of course, we want them to come on the show and tell us a little bit more about what your experiences are in real estate. So we're going to have that conversation, of course, until our guest shows up. So tell us a little bit about what you'd like to see on the show. Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. How you doing, Jeffrey? Thank you for tuning in, sir. Thank you for always hanging out with me on the Real Life Real Estate Investing Show, where we always want to bring you value. Our guest is coming. He's actually, like I said, caught up in a little bit of traffic. He's actually en route. But I do, again, want to give an opportunity for those of you that are joining us. Go ahead and ask any questions that you may have as it relates to real estate investing, wholesaling, fixing and flipping. I'm sure I might be well versed enough to answer any of those questions. If not, I'll be sure I get somebody or get some information that will help you get clarity on any questions that you may have. So Michael Perkins says, wholesaling. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about wholesaling. Devon Lundy, thanks for joining us, sir. So what questions might you have about wholesaling, Michael, or is there some input that you want to share with us as it relates to wholesaling? And those of you that are joining, again, we want to talk about some topics. Let us know what topics you want to hear as it relates to real estate investing. As it relates to real estate investing, funding, how to get funding for your deals. If you have credit challenges, how to get your credit fixed. Those are areas that our companies are actually well versed in. Areas that we're helping people get started in real estate investing where they may have some challenges. So if those are areas that you have questions about, please ask those questions. Again, real estate investing, wholesaling, fixing and flipping, credit challenges, how to get funding for your deals and things like that, how to get funding to even start your business, how to get funding to be able to have the funds to invest in your direct mail, how to get funding to be able to have funding to invest in your bandit signs, or whatever it's going to take for you to be able to get your business off the ground as it relates to real estate investing, or being able to, but we are live, sir. Are you here?
Yeah, it's a library.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So we have somebody that's going to come out and guide you in.
All right, I'm just here now.
Okay. I'll see you in just a second.
All right, see.
Okay. So we are back live. That was our guest calling in to find out exactly where to come and sit with us. Uh, Michael Perkins asked the question: is that a good way to get started with very little money? Michael, thanks for that question. But I do want to give an opportunity, since our guest has arrived. I want to give him an opportunity to answer that question because he is actually the well, I don't recognize this guy, but since he's here, and I'm gonna tell him why I don't recognize him. Hi, Deanna, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Come on in, sir.
All right.
Come on in. Heard you had a little bit of challenge.
This whole day, man.
So there's got to be some conversation of where your hair is, man.
Yeah.
So let me introduce our guest. How you doing, sir? Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
See, this is the life of a real life real estate investor. When they're going from meeting to meeting and making things happen. Can I tell them part of where you were coming from, your mastermind group?
Oh.
So I'll let you tell them a little more about that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us.
I'm just glad I was able to get here.
I know.
So
I wanna give you an opportunity to tell folks a little bit about your background. This is our guest, Mike Watkins. Thank you for being here. So tell the folks who you are, what you do, and how extravagant you are in this wholesaling world.
So I'm Magic Mike.
Okay, I gotta ask, where's your hair, man?
Oh, I got it cut.
We'll talk about that later.
I decided to get it cut because I was like, man, I always put it up, and my thing was just like when I'm at events and I'm out in the world, I can have it up, and then I can just have it down, and people won't recognize me.
Yeah, I didn't recognize you.
But then just the upkeep with it.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay.
But y'all are about the only people other than like my mom noticed.
Really?
Yeah. My wife didn't really notice because when it's back, and then I've got it, slicked back.
Wow.
You can't really tell unless you see the from behind.
So guys, if you guys don't know Mike Watkins, he used to have a head full of hair. He had a very plush ponytail, and now he's cut it all off.
Yeah.
That's what happened when you start making extra money. You wanna make sure you look the part. I guess, is that what it is?
I had a seller too. He had named his ponytail, and that was the connection that we had. I won't get deals like that anymore.
All right.
I was like, I haven't named mine. He was like, how long you been growing it?
Wow.
And I was like, 4 years.
Really?
Just making stuff up. I was like, I hadn't thought about it like that. Dude, he was really into it.
That's something else. All right, so we got a few people on. So tell us a little about your background as it relates to real estate investing. How you got started? Where you from?
I am from Decatur, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to go back there.
Oh.
For the teaching.
Okay.
Then we moved out to Paulding County. My dad had passed away in Decatur.
Oh, wow.
And so I had to go, while I was working, pushing carts, I had to drive back in there and found a safe deposit box, key on him, no will, no nothing. Wow. I had to go through that whole process of inheriting a house. Had to find the deed in his safe deposit box.
Wow.
It was scary. I'd walk into the vault and just try every one.
Oh, wow.
I didn't
really?
get caught. I was thinking somebody's going to think I'm doing something. I found the deed to the house, to the car, a bunch of money, which was crazy. I'm like, okay. You learn stuff every day.
Absolutely.
And so I got the house, sold it, and bought a house out in Paulding County. And then I started getting letters trying to buy it.
Oh.
And I just begged every single one of them to teach me how to do it.
Really?
And then one of them was like, okay, I'll teach you.
That is cool.
And that's how I got started.
Can you share who that one is or was?
No.
Okay.
Because I was like a college student. I was like a profit center.
Okay.
He had never really learned how to flip houses himself.
Oh,
and that's
okay.
You could probably deduce who it is, but I don't want people. He had bought a program.
Okay.
And the program taught me how.
Okay. That's
and
fine.
so if I say who it is, then they'll go buy that pro. Yeah. Horrible to do that to people. Yeah. And there was little things in his program. When I saw him at the end of the thing, he was like, "Hey, I've never flipped a house." He had a video testimonial, and I was like, that's the guy teaching me. I was so mad, and so I fired him, and I figured out I didn't really know how to. I was buying my leads from him. We were always selling it to his cash buyers.
Oh, okay.
So then I had to figure out how to do it on my own.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's an interesting way to get started, though. I mean,
Yeah.
you're still doing it, and you became very good
yeah.
at it.
Yeah, I hear somebody like, I want to get into real estate, and they're like, well, my dad flips houses, or my mom's a realtor, and I'm like, dude, you got to weigh in.
Yeah.
Like right there. What are you doing?
Say that again. Can you tell that to the? There's one particular person in the audience, my son, that I want to hear.
Oh no! So this is a question I ask a lot whenever I go to these. My mastermind yearly, we go to an event and we go together. We went to Tampa for Pete Fortunato, which was an awesome event, totally worth the money. And we had a 15-minute break, and my first thing was I had my one son. I didn't have the second one yet, and I was like, what if he doesn't like real estate?
Right. Okay.
You know, that's the nightmares of mine. And there was another guy who brought his son, and I asked him, and the advice he gave me was, I went to go collect the rent check, cash, in person, and he saw this tenant putting cash into my hand, and he looked up and said, Dad, I want to do real estate.
Wow.
So that's what you do. That's how you get them. You see how much money I'm getting? That's what I'm going to do.
Well, I thought it would work because, before I would show my son all the checks that we were getting, things like that. And he was excited then, but he didn't really care what I did to do it as long as I spent the money on him.
Throughout the month, she want nothing to do with it.
Right.
The second a closing check comes in or something money comes into the account, she's always like, oh, that's because that one thing I did that I helped.
Yeah. My wife's the same way.
Party time.
Before she was like, oh, okay, that's nice. Did she say, when's the closing again?
Oh, yeah. She'll be like, when is that check coming?
Right, exactly.
I don't even tell her anymore.
It's like, don't you have a closing? I'm like, do you know what a closing is? Well, she's a real estate agent, so, she knows.
I've tried. I was thinking about just logging into her computer and getting her license for her.
We're gonna do that.
No, but it wouldn't work because
right.
she would have to hang her license somewhere.
Absolutely.
Maybe I could have done that when I had a ponytail. But
so you might have got away with it. But the beard would have gave you away.
Oh man, yeah.
So we got some folks that are joining us, and I know there was a question, and we want to give folks an opportunity to ask some questions and chime in. As a matter of fact, go ahead, guys. While you're joining us, even while we're having conversation, go ahead and put your questions below, and we'll certainly get back to answer those questions. Now, Mike, if you're still hanging around with us, I want to make sure we answer that question that you asked, because that's a very good question. Jeffrey Love has one, and we have a couple other folks. Jeffrey Love says, hello, Mike. He said, what up, bro?
Hey, bro.
Michael Park says, what up, guys? Good to be here. Hey, Mike, how you doing, sir? Thanks for joining us. All right, so let's talk about, what was your first deal like? How did that go for you?
So I was late to that too.
It was
and I'd put on a.
So you were late to collect the check.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't feel so bad for you being late.
So I was pushing carts, and I worked. It was always 2 p.m. to 11. And so I was like, I set up the appointment at 10 that morning, and so I'm driving out there, no cell service, phone dies. I didn't even tell him till the next day. Stopped at a gas station, got a charger, didn't work.
Wow.
And so the next day I called him. I was like, hey, I couldn't make it. Had to work that afternoon. So the next day, called them. They were like, hey, we still want to do it. Let's meet. So
you were a whole day late to the closing?
So I borrowed my mom's car because it was nicer. I had a suit, a tie, double Windsor, the whole 9 yards. And they were there and just whatever, white beater, and saw it, and they liked my offer, and got it under contract. He was like, man, you're in your Sunday best. And I put it on Craigslist. I got that one for $14,700, sold it for $16,700.
Wow.
And I met the buyer, got $1,000 non-refundable earnest money, put that check in my pocket.
Wow.
And then I went to work at 2 p.m. that day. It was like every day of the week. And I remember going to the bank the next day and it was still soaking wet from like being, because I'd be in my pocket. You know, I never had that much money in my life up until that point. And then I got the closing check, and that was another $1,000. And same deal. I had the closing in the morning, and then I had to go back and push carts at 2 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
So obviously now you do this full time.
Yeah.
So at what point in your period of doing that, you're from your first deal to maybe the second or third, at what point did you decide that you wanted to not push carts anymore?
So I don't think there was any point, because it was that warm and cozy, just getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. I mean, when I was there, I was like, "Ooh, screw this place, going out." But then as soon as that check comes in, you know, I was like, okay, well, maybe they're not that bad, you know. But I had done 2 deals, and I wasn't really pushing it. And then after the second deal, it was an hour before it was time for me to go. So 10 o'clock at night, they brought me into the office, and I'm like, "Oh, they're gonna bring me inside now. No more pushing carts. You know, that promotion is coming in."
Yeah. And
she was like, "All right, well, you've been taking late lunches and all this stuff." And I was like, "When? What?" Like, and she was like, "You know, don't come back." And I was like, "I don't have to come back." I wasn't scared for some reason. I was like, "Oh, I'm free. I'm out."
Yes.
But I never got that, you know, I was going to come in there and be like, "Hey, everything in the store is half off, blah, blah, blah. By the way, Mike quits, blanky, blank, blank," and then click. And so I didn't get that. But,
okay.
But yeah, I had 2 deals in the pipeline, and I just thought, like, hey, I've got all the free time. Let me just hit the ground running.
Yes.
Go full in onto real estate. And I don't know if I'd had the draw to quit the job knowing that paycheck was going to come.
Right,
so I got to thank them for that.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's interesting you mentioned that. I did on the Monday morning mindset, the math. I got to figure that out. I do the show and I forget the name.
You do something like every day on there, yeah.
I talked about a possibility mindset and a necessity mindset. And one of the things that I remember saying was, people usually only do things out of necessity. And so while, I mean, speaking to your situation, when you were working the job, you were doing that out of necessity, as opposed to you're in real estate and you're closing deals and you're doing, I guess, relatively okay as a, you know, in your beginning, as opposed to thinking of the possibility, you know. So you were staying at the job for the necessity, which I'm saying, you know, that probably was what you needed to do at the time. You know,
and then there was a 10% discount. And
wow, you had it made.
Yeah. Oh, I did.
Who would give that up?
Yeah.
You know, so, but you know, I think oftentimes, and I'm gonna mess with this. I think I'm gonna mess my microphone up. Like for me, it kind of happened the same way for me. I was working at a job, best job I ever had in my life. More money than I ever made. You know, I was riding high. They'd give me a company credit card, so I was doing well.
Man.
I was doing well, at least in my mind.
You had a cubicle, probably access to the internet.
All of that.
Man, I was ducking behind, this was before iPhone, but I'd be ducking behind car with my flip phone, be like, how many bedrooms? How many Ooh, that sounds not, well, she sounds hideous.
Right.
Like, man.
So in my situation, I had thoughts of getting into real estate. You know, I had started my first little company. My first little company was G&G Investments. You know, and I had my company cards made. You know, so I was excited about that. I don't think I ever told this story. So.
Yeah. So we're interviewing Glenn today.
Right.
So how did you get started?
No. I'm just giving an example.
Oh, come on.
So it was G&G Investments, and the challenge that I had with it being G&G Investments, because everybody asked the question, who is the other G? And I had to say, well, that's Glenn and Glasper. They say, no, you can't have a G and a G.
Oh, it's you and you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I had to get rid of that and come up with a new name.
Yeah,
so.
I had a company I formed, and it was my initial, my wife's initial, and our firstborn. And then I was looking at it, and I had dissolved it at this point because I was like, what about my other son, Lincoln? Like,
yeah. I was
like, man, he's going to be like, Daddy, why aren't I in your business?
Right. You didn't think of me?
No, yeah.
But no, I was saying just to that example, you know, something like that. I was laid off from my job, and that's what pushed me into
Mm.
my destiny of starting, the real estate investing company. So I guess I can kind of see where something like that gives you a bit more perspective when
Mm-hmm.
now, when you are hoping to someday burn the boats, and the boats have been burned from under you, so you have no
Mm-hmm.
way to go back. So that's, and I imagine that's what your situation was like when you got in that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I say the same thing about sellers. You need to find a seller who needs to get out of real estate as much as you need to get in.
Yes,
You got
yes.
to find exactly the
Mhm.
opposite. Because you want the house, you want the deal. You got to find somebody who wants nothing to do with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that makes good sense. So let's talk about. All right, I want to give an opportunity for the folks that are joining us. Um, and where is that comment? Mr. Michael Parks asked. No, I'm sorry. It was that was the other Michael asked. Is wholesaling the best and most expensive way to get started in real estate investing? In your opinion, what would you say to that?
Yeah, because if you're getting started, wholesaling is really the only way you can, um, unless you have a family member or access to money,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you've got to get a deal on. I was getting like 900 a month pushing carts.
Mm.
So when I got that first deal for $2,000, I made over 3 times that amount.
Wow.
So it was
Wow.
crazy for me. I was like 1/3 of my time was spent doing this. It was in my spare time,
Wow. Yeah.
and then I was working for them, and I was getting like 900 a month, and I was like, man, that's crazy. And the first thing my wife said was, or my girlfriend at the time,
Mm-hmm.
she said, yeah, but you don't have insurance or health care or nothing. And I was like, well, it's triple the amount. I could pay 900 a month in health care
Yeah.
and still have
Still,
900
yeah.
left over. Like, you got to do, like, I'll just flip another house.
Right.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But, and I still do this, but I get the contract and then I just flip the contract, assign it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no money involved, and I don't even put the $10 consideration money on there,
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm doing so many.
Good. So you're saying, in your opinion, there
Yeah.
is a way to get involved in real estate investing
Mhm.
with no money down and no credit.
Yeah, and then eventually, if you want to,
Mm-hmm.
you can then pay the $10 or whatever for the you can put money in the deal, or you can just market like a wholesaler, like you
Mhm.
have been while you're wholesaling deals, and just keep them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
wholesaling is just acquisition strategy. What you do with it once you get the property in
Mm-hmm.
under contract, you just close on it if you've got the money.
Okay. Yeah, no, because I'm a avid wholesaling person about the ways and the not so good ways in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
And many people teach that you can get involved in real estate investing with no money down, and there is a way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just trying to get your perspective on things that they may have to invest in,
Yeah.
business cards. And
Oh, you said that you had formed a business. It was just me and a phone, and I had gotten a beta into Google Voice.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, oh, they're not going to be able to trace my phone number. It's virtual. And so I'd have to get home on the computer and see what it, because I couldn't afford a smartphone.
Oh, okay. So how long have you been doing wholesaling? Maybe that's a
Since
question we should.
2009.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got in when it was kind of creeping back towards.
Yeah, that was my fear. That was one of the reasons why I formed the mastermind, is because my fear. I graduated in 2007 when the market crashed, and so I was like, well, if I wasn't around, I need to get around people who have been through it, and I could see the market slowly coming back up, and I was like, can I even wholesale in an up market? Like, is that possible? I was like, is the only reason I'm wholesaling or able to because the market is down. And so that was my fear. Yeah, I could definitely see the market creeping back up.
Okay, good. So I imagine during that time, well, some people still say the complete bottom didn't fall out until end of 2009.
Oh yeah.
So in your time of getting started, did you find it was easy or relatively simple to locate deals and things like that?
The crash never came up. Those kind of none of that ever happened. The guru would he would go on listsource.com and get the leads. He'd buy them like 10, 20 cents a lead, and then he would sell them to me with an extra nickel per lead. So he'd be making profit there too.
So he was wholesaling the list.
What do they say? Micro wholesaling.
Right.
Wholesaling the leads.
Yeah.
And so I would get those leads, but the leads that I told him I wanted were high equity.
Okay.
No mortgage. I suck at math. I'm dyslexic. So I didn't want any mortgage numbers, no APR, no percentages, none of that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the deals I was getting were just free and clear, or the mortgage was so low it was double whatever my offer would be, quadruple whatever the mortgage was.
Oh wow, okay.
So it didn't even matter. Yeah.
Okay.
And then of course you can offer them $1. It's negotiable at any price.
Got it. So what would you say, in your experience and the time that you've been involved, what is the most challenging situation that you've had as it relates to wholesaling?
Being young, the question I still get is, is your dad buying the house?
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and then it's, somebody like you or Dwayne Murray ends up buying it, and the seller's like, wait, what's going on here? I'm like, well, we're adopted.
Right. Right.
But
Uncle Glenn came to buy the house.
But aside from that, early on I would get those people who would say things, and I didn't realize they were basically telling me they weren't motivated. They would say, well, I'm not going to give it away.
Right.
And they say it just like that.
Yeah.
Like they put a whole bunch of emphasis on give.
Got it.
And then they say, oh, the road out there is getting widened. And when I hear those two things, oh, I'm out. All right, well, call me when you're ready.
Got it.
Or I got, 2 other people coming by to look at it. I'm like, all right, I'm out. But talking to those people who are basically trying to shop it around at the highest price.
Oh yeah.
Those are not talking to unmotivated sellers, really.
Got it.
That was the biggest problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the quickest and easiest deal that you've done? Can you give us an idea what that was?
So this is the deal I've already I've talked about it with you before, but this lady, so I sold a house. I got it for $10,000. I assigned it for $5,000 to a guy, and it was connected to another house. He said, "Well, I want that one too." So I was like, "Well, I've already got the buyer. I just need to get that one below $15,000, and that's my profit." And so I drove down the street to where she was because I knew that's where she lived. Instead of sending her a mailer, I was like, as soon as I can get her to sign the contract.
How much easier could that get, right?
I know. So I drove down the road, met her. She was like, "Oh, you don't want that house. You don't want nothing to do with it." I was like, "Well, of course I want it. I bought the one next to it." And or my buyer did. And she said, "You don't want that one," and I eventually convinced her that, like, hey, I want it. And she said, I offered her $4,000, which is something you never talk about price. But then she said, "You can have it. You pay the taxes. She said the Mexicans were taken over." Was her quote.
Got it.
And I guess they were, because the guy I sold it to was Jose.
Okay.
Great buyer. But yeah, she just handed it to me. I actually paid $1 for that one, and I paid $400 something in closing costs.
So why do you think she was trying to give it away so easily? I mean,
she thought that the bank had foreclosed on it and taken it back. She had been paying on the mortgage, but when the market crashed, that area was in a floodplain.
Got it.
And so the mortgage company went out of business. Nobody wanted any mortgages in that whole neighborhood because it was in a floodplain. So nobody assumed the mortgage. It went back into her name, and the county went to her for the taxes. And of course, she was like, "Well, I'm not gonna pay that."
Is that why you think she kept telling you that you didn't want it? I mean,
and then I think that her neighbor may have been Hispanic, and she just didn't want nothing to do with it.
Oh, okay.
I guess.
Okay.
I didn't see any other. There were no Mexican people there when I was walking around.
That's interesting. Where was this located?
This was in Austell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So so basically you were able to get it from her easily, and then had a buyer.
Yeah, I actually closed on that one. So I bought $401, closed on it, and then I sold it to him because he was a new buyer.
Okay. Okay.
He wasn't like, because I knew he probably would have been mad if he'd have seen, well, we got it for $1.
Oh wow. Wow.
And so I then sold it to him for 15.
Mm-hmm.
So I made 15 on that one, and then 5 on the other.
Wow.
So both those deals I made, and then since then, I will go to the buyers after I do a deal with them, and I'll say, hey, what else do you want?
Right. Right.
And then I'll just go find that because I immediately know, and I think that's called reverse wholesaling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody's been selling that.
Absolutely.
Program.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's essentially what
Just
it
go
is.
to the buyer first instead of going to the
Yeah, I
seller.
should have copywritten it back in the day when I'm the real creative. No,
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it was him.
The original reverse wholesaler.
Yeah. Well, I'm dyslexic, and my wife says I do everything backwards.
Everything back.
So,
you
yeah.
probably can make a good profit from that. Being that you do anything but do things
Do it
backwards.
in reverse. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a creative way of doing it, I guess.
Yeah, and I realized I do ARV backwards too.
Okay.
In my offers. So I'll get the ARV, and then I'll take off. They tell me, oh, I want to make 30%,
Mhm.
35. I'll take the percent off, and then I'll take off my fee, and then I'll take off repairs. And I was at a class, and the guy was running through his spreadsheets that he was selling on the iPad, and it was back. You would plug in the offer.
Okay.
So apparently
okay.
I do that backwards too.
Wow.
Do you do it like that? Where
Well,
you get the ARV first, and then
yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
kind of do the same way because
Okay.
I mean, to me, it's easier to back out the numbers.
yeah,
I
and
don't-
then that's my mayo.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like-
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know what these acronyms are, ARV is after repaired value, MAO, which is the MAO, which is it's not Hellman's or
Dukes.
or Miracle Whip or anything like that. This MAO is MAO, maximum allowable offer. So, but yeah, that's basically how we do that formula. I'll back out the ARV. I get the ARV
Mhm.
because I know from that, and I get an idea what the repair costs will be, and then I look at actually the percent. Well, I get the percentage, which is 70% of the ARV, and then I subtract the repair costs from that, and that
Mhm.
becomes my MAO.
Yeah, and I have one buyer who wants 65%.
Okay.
He wants to
okay.
make a little bit more, and then I have two that'll take 75%.
Got it.
I guess they have better terms or something. I'm like,
Well,
okay.
they're probably their cost of
won't-
money is a little less expensive.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Well, in your opinion, where are there many 65% ARV deals out there anymore?
Originally, when I did that $2,000 deal, I would be doing 2,000 or
Mhm.
3,000. And as soon as I started, I was like, why don't I just ask for 10,000?
Mm-hmm.
And some of the people would be like, "No, you crazy?" Well, they don't hear 10,000; they just hear the offer is lower than
Mhm.
normal. But some people would be like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then my
Yeah.
next thing was like, "Well, man, maybe I could have gotten 20 grand lower."
Mm-hmm.
You never know until you ask.
Absolutely.
I mean, you'll do less deals, but there's always a person willing to give it away, for lower.
Got it.
So it's
Okay.
just
Well,
you never know. They
like
may
you
say
said.
no, but I can do this amount.
Yeah.
You say, well, okay, that's more than $2,000 still for me.
Absolutely.
So let's do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Brandon Anthony asks, what other investment strategies are you doing?
So before I inherited a house and got into real estate, I was a tenant. And if you've seen Kung Fu Hustle, there's this lady with rollers and a cigarette and a gown, and she just shows up, pay your rent. And they do Kung Fu fighting because it's Kung Fu Hustle.
Right.
Great movie. And it's dubbed too, so you can watch it. My landlord, the one guy cussed the landlord out, and so he couldn't pay her the rent, and his check bounced. And so I was the responsible one who would go to their rooms and be like, give me the rent money. And so it had to be paid in cash. So I'd bring cash to her house, and I mean, she'd just have the whole yard would be gold knickknacks. And of course she'd have a gown.
This is the landlord.
This was my landlord. And
Oh,
then
wow.
rolls in her hair. She would smell like cigarettes. Just like that lady. Pay your rent. And so I was like, man, I could do this.
Right.
And so as soon as I started getting these wholesale deals, I just started keeping them and renting them out. I bought one from another wholesaler, but since I have direct access to them and I'm getting them at below, I'm subtracting my wholesale fee.
Mm-hmm.
I've got them even lower than normal, so I just close on them every fifth or sixth deal. Just close on it, rent it out, and money comes into your mailbox in 2 days.
Oh yeah.
Just right into the savings account.
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Oh man.
So you're not gonna go to the doors and tell them to pay their rent?
No, because they get the notice to get you move out or.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So they already know. Huh?
Yeah, and I screen them ahead of time to make sure they can afford the rent, and then 3 times extra. But if you screen them good and you get good tenants in there, and I mean they're essentially. I looked at the one that I had bought with the money I inherited.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually get that one rented out until after I had done my first deal.
Okay.
Because I sucked at it, and I got it rented out, and I paid $50,000 all in with repairs and everything.
Okay.
That house has been made that money back 2.5 times already.
Wow.
So the people living in it are paying me to buy it.
Wow.
They've paid for the house, but I own it.
Wow.
That's just crazy to me.
Well, hey, listen, that's the world we
I
live
was
in.
like,
though.
hey, they want to do that, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's a part of when we talk about mindset. That's a part of mindset. Some people, I've had people even tell me that they prefer to rent as opposed to buy.
Oh man.
Listen, I appreciate that.
My wife is not on. This is my professional Facebook account. So
Okay.
She's never gonna see this, but her
man.
sister was like, "We want to move out of our." They were talking to me because I'm a real estate guy in the family.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, "We want to move out of our house, so we don't have to pay a mortgage, and whenever the microwave breaks, the landlord will have to pay for it."
To fix it.
And I'm like, "But y'all, like, 20 years and y'all have the whole thing paid off."
Exactly.
And then I was like, "It's a stovetop microwave. Landlord's not gonna fix that anyway." Like
No,
what?
Usually, landlords don't fix appliances.
You gotta find a landlord who is even gonna, like, well, if the stove breaks, or the air conditioner breaks,
Yeah.
but then you've got to think like, is the landlord actually gonna fix that?
Yeah.
Like, is he actually like? I've had tenants when I've got a property up for rent. Tenants will come in and they'll be like, "Okay, are you gonna show up randomly in the middle of the night and check to see whether my dishes and everything is put away?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think that's legal." And are and of course when the stove breaks or something, right, are you gonna fix it? I'm like, well, yeah. That's the service. I'm providing a home. It's apparently I'm one of probably 3 people that care.
I would say don't care. But there are certain things that landlords don't always put in their leases, like fixing appliances and things like that. But it's interesting that you mentioned that, because even conversations that I've had with other folks, a lot of them would rather live in an apartment because they don't want to cut grass.
Oh yeah. So I sold my mom's house like that, and she pays the same amount as she did in a house. It's like
To rent.
So she was living in the house. Her mortgage was still, it was like $1,300 a month.
Mm-hmm.
She's now paying $1,300 for a 2-bedroom apartment. I was like, "You had a 4-bedroom house."
Wow.
She was like, "But it's just me in this big house." And I'm like, "Well, why don't I pay the apartment and I'll take the house?"
Yeah.
They didn't want to do that.
So she sold the house?
Yeah, I sold the house pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't you keep it and let somebody else pay you rent?
Because the mortgage was so high.
Oh, okay.
The mortgage was really high, and she didn't want to ruin her credit. And I'm like, well, what do you need credit for, Mom? Like, and I've tried. I'm like, hey, let me rent out the other 2 rooms to other people,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll rent out the garage, and you can just work from home in the office. They didn't want to do that.
Well, it's situations like that people run into where they prefer to be out of the house, which makes our business good for business for us, because we can buy.
Yeah, and then she's like, well, I got a pool here that I don't have to maintain.
Oh, wow.
There's a playground there at the place. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, but you gotta.
That had to be a challenge for mom for wanting to live in a big house by herself and not wanting to maintain it.
That's what she wants. That's all right.
Yeah.
You can have it. Yeah, sure.
Again, but that makes it an opportunity for us to be able to buy that place and sell it to someone else, or a wholesaler, or whatever the case may be. So I imagine the person that bought it, thought that was a great idea for them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that one I actually did as a. What I recently started doing is where the house doesn't need a whole lot of repairs.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell the realtors about it.
Oh, okay.
So instead of emailing out the cash buyers, I'll also include the cash buyers who are also realtors, and they'll tell it like pocket listings.
Got it.
Legal.
Yeah. No,
they'll have a pocket listed, and they'll be like, "Hey, I got this one house. It's not listed."
Mm-hmm.
So they'll pay cash for it, move in, and of course fix it up, or they want to live there.
Yeah. That's not. So that's what I think we call wholesaling, with sort of a retail situation.
Yeah, but it's I didn't do anything to the property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in some
he
cases,
wholesale it.
Oh, okay.
That's
Somebody else. Yeah. Maybe
That's going to be the new webinar going around is how to get your cash buyers to wholesale it for you.
You're going to start that
here
one
first.
Right. You're going to start that one.
Yeah.
So if y'all hear me talk about wholesaling on a webinar, it was my idea first. I kind of borrowed it.
Brought to you by the same guy who invented reverse
wholesaling.
Man.
Good stuff. So we have, let's see, Marcus Merritt just joined us. I want to make sure Deanna Britt says, "Hey, Mike. How you doing, Marcus? Thanks for joining us, sir." So Brandon Anthony, we answered that question. John Stafford says, "What's up? What's up, Mr. Grind Guy? Thanks for watching." We got some other folks that are joining us. AC Cooley, Anthony Boston, thanks for joining us. So let me ask you a couple more questions. So tell us about, now you're a leader of one of the groups with South Atlanta RIA, right?
I am. So they're not subgroups because she doesn't want them to have that kind of.
Did I say subgroups?
They're a super group.
Did I say subgroups?
No, you just said a group.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's funny.
Don't tell her I said that.
I showed up to one of the meetings, the monthly meetings, and she was like, "Oh, you're a super group leader. Here's a cape." And I was like, "What?" And it was a literal cape. So I had a suit, tie, whole 9 yards. And so I was like, okay. So she had a shoot.
Shout out to Stacey Rossetti. That's how she does it.
Yeah. And she went live. And of course, I'm the young guy, the millennial that I am. She was live on her Facebook. I don't know if y'all want to go back and look some of the videos, but you can see me in the background like this, flying by. But yeah, we took a bunch of photos. Yeah, it was fun, man. I had that guy like take a picture of me, and I was like edit it sideways where it looks like I'm flying. Yeah. But I'm a super group leader, and I'm the wholesaling group.
Okay.
And there are other groups that do wholesaling, but they do house flipping. All I do is wholesaling.
Got it.
Yeah.
So when does that group meet? How often does that group meet?
First Saturday of every month, and it's at Taco Mac in Decatur. The old place, it's not there anymore at Green Ginger. Taco Mac it's going to be there. It's 11:30 the first Saturday of every month, except for this Saturday is Dragon Con, and it's a holiday, Labor Day, I think.
Oh, okay.
And then, so it's on the 8th.
No, it can't be on the 8th.
Well, my wife loves this Dragon Con, going to these little...
Well, because we have an event that's on the 8th. So you have to come to our event. You can't have it on the 8th.
Man.
So our event is always the second Saturday. So, public service announcement, the event is not going to be on the 8th because they're going to be at our event.
What time is your event at?
It's 11 to 1:30. I know, right?
Wait, what's your event about?
FICO into a fortune. So we
yeah. You cover the credit.
Okay.
And then I'll cover the doing it without credit part.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got bad credit? Come to me. You got good credit? Yeah.
Well, actually, no. If you got bad credit, you can come see us too, because we want to help you get that credit up.
Oh, you do credit repair?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can just turn anybody into a buyer. Man, I have
Say
that's
that
the biggest
again.
problem with students
Say
is
that
they'll
one
be
more time.
turn anybody into a buyer. Yeah.
FICO into a fortune. That's what we teach.
FICO,
That's
yeah.
what we teach. Yeah.
I have these students and they'll be like, "Oh, I can't get into real estate. I can't do this. I can't do that. Blah blah blah."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Well, yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Like I was pushing cars. I did it."
Exactly.
But I have
Yeah.
people. I've got a guy that I refer people to. Oh, I don't have money.
Mhm.
Oh, well, talk to this guy, and
Right.
when he gives you the money, come back to me and tell me what kind of house you want.
Absolutely.
And I'll go get it for you.
Absolutely. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah. So so we'll share each of our events. Tell us about your event. You're the guest. So.
Okay, so I had a person who brought me a deal, and I looked it up. They wanted to partner up with me. I told them the ARV was 30,000. It's pretty rock solid. You can't just. There's no emotion involved. It's just houses are selling around there for 30,000.
Wow.
And called me right after I told her that. I was like, so if the ARV is 30, and they're gonna flip it, the offer is gonna be like $300.
Mm.
So they're probably not gonna take that. So let's do a rental. So I've got a rental evaluation on my spreadsheet. I have to use a spreadsheet because I'm dyslexic, so it'll do the math for me.
Mm.
So I was like, well, let's go with the rental. Looked up the rent. I was like, okay, then we need to offer this much, which I think was like 20,000.
Wow.
That way they
Okay.
buy it for 20, or we would buy it at 10,
Mm.
sell it for 20. They could rent it out, and then they'd have equity.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
And called me, cussed me out, said there was a mortgage for 60,000, so there's no way they could do that. So I was like, all right, well, short sale. There's other option. Maybe we can get it subject to what's their mortgage payment. She was like, I've already got it under contract. I was like, well, what did you get it under contract at?
Mm.
Like nothing's going like cuss me out. So this month, I'm going to talk about ARV, comps, because it's so bad. Like when you bring me a deal, you want to partner up with me. You know, you've got to look at the ARV. You've got to look at the comps. That's one of the biggest problems.
You're
is
getting close to having me cancel my event because I want to hear that.
Yeah.
I want to have that conversation. Yeah, because that's a major thing in our business, man. A lot of times, now this is a conversation you have with the seller, I imagine, when you're telling them.
Yeah. I was like, is this lady a motivated seller? What's going on?
Mm. So you had to tell her about the ARV and educate her on how that works.
Yeah, I don't tell the seller that.
Okay.
But they hear my offer. But if the mortgage is higher than what you want to give them, you've got to do a short sale where you got to know all your numbers.
Right.
This is not like sliding your debit card and hoping that the money's on there.
Right.
You need to know exactly how much and what's like. And then the second thing was, if this person doesn't want to sell the house for less than 60,
Mm-hmm.
then they're not motivated.
Right.
Kick them to the curb, go Oprah, move on with your life.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So in a situation like that, so would you basically just let that person know that it doesn't work for you, or do you give them any additional information?
Yeah, I've had some.
How does that work?
I would tell them, well, the only way that I can do it is either by short sale
Mm-hmm.
or getting the property subject to, if I take over the property, what would the mortgage payment be like? What would that? And if they don't want to tell me that, that's personal information. Well, then sorry, I can't do that.
Mm.
There have been other deals where I've had the person tell me that the mortgage is like double what the market rent is.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much on the house. The APR or whatever those numbers are too high.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, man, what is this society doing to you to give you those numbers? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. You can't even list the property,
Right.
you know. So I just have to tell them, I'm sorry.
Well, in those cases, I found that because people are more inclined to listen to people they believe are the professionals. So we as investors are considered bottom feeders.
Oh,
we're
yeah,
just
yeah,
looking
yeah.
to take advantage of people, But when they listen to a real estate agent,
Oh, yeah.
it's more likely that they'll be open to having that conversation.
There's no wholesaling license, so if somebody goes to a $200 educational workshop,
Yeah.
and they're just like, well, I know what, they need to have I'm going to invent this too, a wholesaler
We're going to
license.
invent this too, the wholesaler license. So I figured if I said it at the same time, it sounds like
Brought to you by G and MM Investments. Right there.
Right there. GG and MM Investments, right?
Who's the other M? It's Magic and it's Mike. That's right.
All right, so no, I was saying that, and many times having conversations with sellers, they don't receive it well coming from a person who's just an investor, although they don't realize. I mean, this is what we do as a business. When they're speaking to a licensed professional, which is a real estate agent in many cases, they're more inclined to hear their side of it. And so in an instance like that, what I would say, instead of walking away from it, in my opinion, is maybe refer it to a licensed agent.
Oh, yeah.
And have them call and tell them that their house is not worth what they think it is.
On that note, what I do is I want to be like a ninja. I don't want nobody to know I was there.
Okay.
So if I get a real estate license, a realtor's license, there'd be a database with me in it, even if I'm in there for just a couple of months. I still have a database somewhere. I don't want nobody even knowing that I exist.
Right.
Other than, on Facebook, I guess.
Right.
But knowing exactly where I am. But so on that note, I borrowed somebody else's access to the MLS.
You partner with someone else.
And then so when I get a person that doesn't want to sell to me and they want to list, I send them to her, and then if she has somebody that so we help each other out.
Oh, okay.
I got a buddy of mine he'll pay $10 or $100 per lead, and then they'll pay $100 per lead. But that's just the relationship that I have.
Oh, okay.
And it works. But yeah.
But no, that's good. So in that, did you refer that person?
But that
to?
person was I was like, there's no way you can list it, like, because the bank's gonna want that money. They could have done a short sale, but to do a short sale, if you're paying the mortgage, the bank's like, well, why would we do a short sale if we're getting the money every month? And the person, like my mom, was just so worried about messing up their credit.
Yeah.
I was like, well, and since I started doing foreclosures, there's actually a lot of people who are like, you tell them, hey, stop paying the mortgage, and I'll do a short sale. They will stop paying the mortgage.
Wow.
But credit to me is nothing. I mean, I don't care about credit, so I understand where they're coming from.
Okay. So we'll have that conversation at a later time about credit.
If you need help with credit.
Right.
Yeah, see, I got to help you out.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. So let's tell the people about your event. You said that, so it's going to be ARV. What's the title of it?
I'm not this famous. Like, y'all can't see this, but he got lights. The production values are through the roof. So before that, I just wanted to meet every first Saturday of every month at this like pizza shop that was out of business now. And my wife hates real estate shop talk, so I was like, hey, once a month I can get out and talk to people.
Right.
I just want to talk about real estate.
Yeah.
And my thing was if somebody comes and they want to partner up with a deal, then I can split the deal. I'll find the buyer for them. It'll pay for the whole year of me driving out there and everything.
Makes sense.
And then Stacy was like, hey, you want to join the South Atlanta Arena? And then like 50 people showed up.
Wow.
And so I was like, oh, man.
Makes a difference when you got somebody like Stacy backing you.
Yeah,
I showed up.
I'm just going to copy all this. I'm going to get like this whole setup.
And just sit here and have a conversation.
Yeah.
So listen, bring us deals. This is part of what do we do on the show. Bring us deals. If y'all have deals that y'all... Listen, let me... And you know what? While we're here, I just want to make sure I say something right at this point. Jabri still buys houses. Just in case y'all got a little confused about that. We do funding and we do credit, but we still buy houses. So we're actually looking for some properties. I'm gonna steal the spotlight for just a minute. I want to make sure people get that. I want to make sure they're not confused about what we do.
Who's Jabri? Does the seller never say that? Like, you're Glenn. Who's Jabri? Is Jabri the boss?
Jabri is the ninja. Like you said, you want to be a ninja.
Oh, you got a fake personality? Did you make him a Facebook page too?
I like what you just said. Yes, Jabri is the boss.
Well, that's what I do with my tenant. Like, hey, if you get tenants, don't tell them you're the owner. Just be like, well, I manage it.
Yeah.
Like, that owner sucks. I hate him. I'm always asking for that rent, or you move out on the first.
That's a good thing. You just gave me an idea. Yeah, Jabri. I work for Jabri. Jabri is the boss. Jabri is the company owner. Yeah. That way, nobody's looking for me.
If I look up Jabri on Facebook and I see like a picture of like the Cookie Monster or something, I'm gonna be so. Or if it's you without the glasses.
No.
Or with a
I
wig
promise
on.
you, it's not an alter ego. That's who Mr. Dollar
Man,
on
that
the
is
Dime
so
is.
perfect. And I'm here telling everybody, hey, I'm Mike. You know.
Right, yeah. So I'm Glenn. I just work for Jabri. Yeah, that's what
Man.
we'll leave him with that.
When I made my PayPal, I made the name some weird Matt name for some reason, and every time I try to change it, they're always like, "Is Matt there?" So maybe I'm gonna change it to Matt. I'm gonna do that.
That's it. So you gonna work for Matt now?
Yeah, I work for Matt. Matt's he's the head honcho.
Okay. So your event is. Oh, I think so, yes. I think somebody was asking. So your event is September 8th. Okay.
At Taco Mac at 11:30.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll go about until 2:30. And all I'm gonna talk about is ARV. But then next month is gonna be on the first Saturday.
Okay. Good.
From now on,
good.
yeah.
So that way we'll stay out of each other's space.
Yeah.
I wanna, So our event is also September 8th, and we're going to be talking about FICO into a fortune. So those of you that may have bad credit or good credit, come on out. Those of you that may have money, come on out. So we want to have that conversation with people where we can actually help you turn your FICO into a fortune. Like I said, whether it's bad credit, good credit, whatever the situation may be, I'm going to have my partners that are going to be working with me, that are going to be speaking, Miss Lalari Burkall and Miss Leta Laganda. I have to make sure I say that properly. I have to pronounce all the letters in the name because it's so proper.
Like Jabray.
Jabri.
You were like, it's Jabri.
It is Jabri. It is Jabri.
So offended at this made up name.
See, I would give you the real backstory, but I don't want to,
Oh, they'll be able to trace it.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
Jabri was when you lived in like Alabama. You went into witness protection, moved here, and under that cover have.
So listen, Don't go Googling too much to try to find out where that came from.
I'm gonna bring that up in my mastermind. We need to find this guy Jabri.
All right. Okay, we'll talk about Matt too. So listen, all right, real quick, because
I want to say something about the credit.
Okay.
All right, so do not disqualify yourself. You think your credit sucks or your credit is bad, like let him look at. He may take a look at your credit and say, "Oh, this blemish says it goes away."
Absolutely.
Or some of those you could just send a letter. Yeah. And they'll be like, it'll just disappear.
Lots of time people think their credit is worse than what it is, and in many cases, as you said, having someone review it and kind of consult them on the things that they need to do to have it taken care of, and it can be very simple.
Yeah, when you slide that debit card,
know
exactly how much is on there.
Right.
If your credit score's a 13, at least you know now, and so you can start doing what, Glenn or Jabri says.
Yeah, whichever one
about,
of us got.
well, here's how to build it up, and then who knows? Maybe next year it might be 700.
And see, you made another very good point, man. The show is going to go on for a while. We keep doing this. So in that, I was having a conversation with someone when they said, "Yeah, my credit's not so good, and I'm going to work on it." And I said to them, well, if you start today, because oftentimes we put things off tomorrow that we can do today. If you start today, before you know it, 3 months, 6 months, your credit score could double or triple what it is now. Well, if it's a 400, it won't go to a 1200, but at least it can go to an 800. You see, but that's the thing about credit in situations like that. People disqualify themselves, as you mentioned. I can't do real estate because my credit's bad. But if you don't know how bad your credit is or what's making your credit bad, you're automatically disqualifying yourself without even giving yourself a chance.
This is where Will Galloway would be like, let me take the mic. Did y'all just hear that? That was a golden nugget. Okay, did y'all hear what he said? And then I repeat what you said. Y'all can just rewind.
Hey, Mike, we gonna definitely have to do this again, man.
Yeah. He does that all the time. And I'll look into the audience, and I'll be like, oh, they must be writing it down, and they don't write it down. And I'm like, the guy that flips houses is telling y'all, hey, pay attention.
Oh my goodness! There you go with another great point. Okay, so we're gonna have to wrap. We're gonna have to wrap right here.
Okay.
So real quick.
I was a little late.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, and I guess we do have to
and then
fill
we're
the
gonna
time.
be late again. Okay.
Yeah.
That's just who I am.
Tell the folks real quick about Wholesale University.
So I was wholesaling coaching with another company, and we stopped doing that. I stopped doing that, and so now I've got to quickly come up with my own coaching program.
Okay.
And so that's the coolest name I could come up with.
Okay.
That wasn't.
So is
already
that
taken.
something that you've established already? Is in the works or?
It's the same coaching I've been doing.
Okay.
It's just
your
new
own
branding, new name. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So folks can get in contact with you to get signed up for that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they can just send me a message on Facebook.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, tell folks how they can get in contact.
One-on-one with MagicMike.com.
Okay. One-on-one.
The numbers.
The number
yeah.
one. One-on-one
with Magic Mike.
With MagicMike.com. So do I get an honorary seat in the wholesaling university?
Yeah. One-on-one with MagicMike.com/Jabri sent me. There you go. I'll make that tonight, and you'll get the affiliate link.
I get the affiliate link. Okay. So he's gonna give me the affiliate link. Okay, so yeah, listen. Make sure you go to one-on-one with host. Wait a minute, I gotta make sure I get it right because affiliate is what I do.
Better one.
Okay, one-on-one with MagicMike.com/Jabri sent me.
And if you can find out who Jabri is, I'll give you 10% off.
So listen, if you come to me and ask me who Jabri is, we'll split the 10%. Mike, listen, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming out. I know it was a challenge getting here, but listen, I know your schedules, when you're doing what you're doing, it takes a little bit of, working the time out. And I appreciate you coming out. The mastermind, can we talk about the mastermind real quick? Is there a way that other people can get involved in that, or is that?
So, it's a big, long story, but I took over a meetup, and it was some guru selling programs, and so I was like, well, I'll buy it. He forgot to pay it 1 month, so they offered it up to everybody in the group. You want to take over? And I was like, oh, I'll sell it back to him. Didn't want it. And then so I took it over. I messaged everybody in there, where are y'all at in your career? And I had been thinking about forming a mastermind. Nobody had done a deal. So I created this newbie mastermind, first Saturday of every month, like 3 years ago. That's how long I've been doing it, first Saturday of every month. And so I did that, and then some guy skip traced me and found out who I was, and he was flipping houses too on the other side of Atlanta. And I was like, well, if you can find me, you must be good at it. So he knew somebody. We formed a mastermind of 3 people when we meet in Conyers. And so I would say you can't join mine, but you can definitely form one yourself. And if you want to know more about forming a mastermind, there's a good book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
And in that it says meet on a weekly basis. And I just realized Think and Grow Rich comes up every week. Every week that I meet with the mastermind, we talk about Think and Grow Rich, Think and Grow Rich.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, again, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, Magic Mike, and he actually kept his clothes on. No. We gonna make sure he keeps his clothes on.
No.
So that's been our show. We had an awesome guest, as we often do. Thank you again. Shout out to the Grind Guy and Everybody Eats for taking over the show last week. We thank you guys for sitting in with us. Stay tuned next week. We're gonna have Mr. Andy Arrieta and his crew coming in with us. They're gonna hang out with us, so we're gonna be sharing some great information again about investing and wholesaling. Again, don't forget to check out if you are looking to find out about ARV and things like that as it relates to real estate, check out his event on September 8th. Taco Mac, and where's that located?
It's in Decatur. It's on Ponce de Leon.
Ponce de Leon in Decatur.
I'm saying that right.
If you are interested in learning more about how to turn your FICO into a fortune, check us out September 8th. That's going to be at Coconut Grill on Steve Reynolds Boulevard, 4181 Steve Reynolds Boulevard. We'll be sure to put the information to either event in the information. Check us out. Thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you all next week.